Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you my basic training experience. So I'm super excited to do this video and it's like long overdue. I'm talking years overdue. But if you guys want to see my experience and what I went through during that time in my life, stick around. Okay guys, so let's get started. So I went to basic training August 7th, 2018, and I graduated October 5th, 2018. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm in the reserves, so I'm not active duty. So active duty individuals work Monday through Friday, while me being in the reserves, I work 1 weekend out of every month and then 2 weeks out of the year. And the branch that I'm in is the Air Force, but that could be another video as to why I chose that branch. But yeah, so life was crazy to say the least in 2018. So I actually went from an internship, like I just finished an internship for my major, which was broadcast journalism. And then I went to basic training, I think a week later. So I just came back from my internship, which was in a different state than where I am from. We'll go into that video. We'll go into that topic or that time in my life in a different video. So I went for my internship, went back home for like a week, and then I just like flew out to basic training. So I'm going to just walk you through the moment I left home to basic training to hopefully coming back. But then again, I might get all scattered in this video. So I'm just going to pretty much recap what I remember because it's now almost 3 years of me being like back from basic training. So yeah, bear with me here. Okay. So the day of August 7th, it was a Tuesday. And I know that because everyone that is at my reserve base, I believe, ships out on a Tuesday. I think active duty people ship out on a different day than Tuesdays, but I know I think everywhere, unless it's changed, reservists ship out on Tuesdays. So, I wake up, wasn't that nervous for some reason, but I was like, let's get this, let's go. So I get ready. Months prior to this day, I'm packing for the trip. They send us like a list of things that we need to make sure that we pack with us. There's some things you cannot take to basic training with you, there's some things you can. I believe I had my hair braided, because military standards, they want your hair a certain way. And I also was thinking long term, how am I going to kind of manage my hair? Black hair is a lot of work. So I was thinking in advance and thinking, how am I going to take care of my hair and hopefully not get screamed at or just make sure I'm managing my time while I'm there. So I went in with my hair braided. So I get to the base, my parents drop me off, we say our goodbyes. It's kind of a sad thing, but at the same time, my mind's focused. My mind's focused on getting there. My mind's focused on completing my mission, essentially. So they drop me off. I go inside of an area of the base. It's just like a little classroom set up. I walk in, there's other people there, and I was a little bit salty because I remember specifically being told that our parents can't come with us. They have to drop us off, and that's that. So when I walk in and see all these other people with their parents and their family members, I'm just like, So in that moment, I kind of was upset, but I told myself, this is fine. I already said my goodbyes. Well, they're going to have to say their goodbyes now. So I get in there, and I had everything at least I thought I had everything that I needed to have for that time, meaning in that classroom. I had my book bag, I had my clothes, I had some paperwork, but the one thing I didn't have is a writing utensil. I don't know why. I guess I just didn't think I needed one at the time. So one of the ladies that was in charge at the time at the base was telling us to write something down, and then I think I raised my hand and told her, so I don't have a pen or a pencil, can I borrow one? And I remember she screamed at me. So when she screamed at me, I'm like, is this kind of an introduction into what I'm about to see and experience? So I was just like, this is interesting. So anyways, she gave me the pen or pencil, whatever I used, and I was able to write down whatever I needed to write down. And then from there, it took, I think, a couple hours. And then me and the people that I was with, we got into this van, I guess you could say, and that was the van that eventually took us to the airport. I believe I flew out of Pittsburgh. I think I flew out of Pittsburgh International Airport, and from there, I believe we went to the Dallas airport. And I'm with, I believe, 3 people from my reserve base at this time. And I believe two of them I knew a little bit longer than the other person I was with us. And the reason for that is, so it's another part of this. So it's called, well, at the time it was called DTF, and then the name changed to TDF. Before it was called the Development Training Flight, and then it was changed to the Training Developed Flight, I believe. I might be wrong, might be butchering that really hard. But pretty much, it's when I would go to the reserve base once a month, leading up to when I go to basic training. So in that time, I'm meeting all these different people. Some of them are shipping out way before me, while others, like, just joined. And, like, it's, like, their first couple months being in that little flight. So all these people that I'm flying out with in this moment have been in the same TDF flight as me. So it wasn't like I don't know these people. I actually knew them. So it was kind of, oh, we know each other. Let's go to the airport here together. We're going to basic training. This is crazy. Now, the females that I was with, I didn't think they would be in my, like, basic training flight. But little did I know, they both were. So let's go back to, okay, we just went from Pittsburgh to Dallas. So, you know, we're eating our last good meals. I think I had chicken Alfredo or something in the airport. It was, like, really good, by the way. And I was thinking, wow, we're really out here. So we're waiting, I believe, to board a flight to San Antonio, because that's where I went to basic training. Went to basic training at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas. And I remember, like, texting, I think my dad, my mom, and my boyfriend, that this is it. Like, I think that once I land in San Antonio, I won't be able to talk to you guys anymore. So I'm just going to say goodbyes. If I can find those text messages, I'll input them, like, insert them somewhere around here. Maybe, like, right here. But if not, that's what happened. And it was getting real, okay? It was getting real. And now I will tell you, before, 1, I joined the military, and 2, before I went to basic training, I looked up on YouTube, like, basic training experience videos and, like, what happens when you get from wherever you live to San Antonio, like, how they're going to treat you when you get there and all of this. But I don't know. It's just surreal when you're actually in that moment of you're about to go do that. So I say my goodbyes. And I'm off. We're on the plane to go to San Antonio. And it's so interesting how things change. And what I mean by that is when I get on the San Antonio flight, looking around the plane, I see a bunch of people that look like they're going on a trip. And when I mean a trip, they're definitely going to basic training like me. And you can just feel it in the air of that we're all about to go do this. So we land in San Antonio, and since, like I said, most people on my flight, at least it seemed, were going to basic training, we all kind of just, like, got off together and then followed each other to where we, I guess, thought we were supposed to go. And so when we hit this one corner of the airport after getting our luggage from baggage claim, we saw people, I think they were called MTIs, I think at that point, because at one point you meet MTLs, another point you meet MTIs. So I think they were MTIs because they had on that hat. Do you guys know that hat I'm talking about? And bam, boom, bam, like, they were there, and before we got there, I could see people already lined up in, like, lines. Some people were getting screamed at, but this is in the airport, so we're not even at basic training yet. So I'm like, great. This is what we're, like, going to be seeing here soon. So I head over there, they tell me where to go, we all line up, they're just checking our names and they're checking everybody in. We're waiting essentially to board a bus that will take us to the base. And I wasn't nervous again at this time, I was just following directions. I believe they told us to I think they said to call our parents, like, one more time. I think this was, like, the last phone call, because in case you don't know, you get 1 or 2, maybe 3 phone calls in basic training period. I did not call my parents at this time because I already said my goodbyes like before I even got to San Antonio. So my mindset or my mind was focused. I was like, okay, I'm here to do this. Like, this isn't, I don't need to say goodbye anymore. I already said goodbye. So yeah, I was ready to go. So then after all these people said their goodbyes, they started divvying us up into groups of where we're going to go. We had to sit down for a little bit in the airport. And then we were told inevitably where we're going to go and what bus we're going to get on. I believe the buses were white and they're just like your average bus. Do you know what I mean? They look like a coach bus, if you will. And, you know, I get on the bus and I'm sitting next to a girl and I'm like, this is cool. Like, she probably won't be my flight. Because you have to understand, there were so many people there. So I don't, you know, I'm assuming that none of these people that I'm with would be in my soon-to-be flight when I arrive at basic training. So we get on the bus and we're heading to Lackland Air Force Base. And everyone on the bus is just saying like, oh, we're about to get screamed at. Oh, this is getting real. And I'm hearing it, but I'm not hearing it because I'm too busy looking at how beautiful San Antonio, Texas is, especially at night, and all these different restaurants that I've never heard of before, and just seeing everything. It was just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm here in San Antonio, Texas. So we then get to that base, okay? And I'm actually a little bit starting to get a little nervous just because it's starting to set in that we really have arrived, for one. And two, we're really about to just be in basic training for the next 8 weeks. And, yeah. So, something that I always remember saying whenever I also did watch basic training videos before I joined the military, but something that people would always talk about when they would reflect on their basic training experience in their own video here on YouTube, they would say the MTI, the military training instructor, would get on the bus and start screaming at everyone to get off the bus. So I'm anticipating this would happen. But guess what? It did not happen. Yeah. So the guy got on the bus and he literally said, "Are you guys ready to go to basic training?" And I was like, wait, is this a joke? Like, I was literally anticipating this man getting on this bus and be like, get off the bus. So it was weird that he literally said, you guys ready to go to basic training? So, yeah, we got off the bus and we went on this giant auditorium looking thing in which we got our first box. I forgot what the name of it. I think it might have been called a food box. I don't remember. I don't remember, but it had like Oreos in it, a sandwich of some sort, I think a juice box, and it was, I guess, just like our first meal, I guess. And I don't remember if I ate that or not. I don't think I did. I might have literally ate the Oreos only. But this is when, like I said, we're in this huge auditorium, and I'm wondering, like, what's going on? Like, never are all these people going to be in my flight, because I don't think flights are that big, but obviously at the time I didn't know that. So, we're waiting in there for a little bit, and it just seems like more and more people are coming into the auditorium and joining us as we sit there and wait. Little did I know that all of the girls that I was sitting with were actually going to be in my flight. Yeah, so after realizing that, I noticed that there was maybe 50 people ever so often in the auditorium sitting together, which makes up a flight. So there was 50 of us in a flight, and those are the girls that I were going to be living with for the next 8 weeks. So it's getting late at this point, and some people, some groups, some flights are getting up and going with an MTI. And then it's inevitably our turn to go. And this guy tells us, let's go. So we get up and follow him. Mind you, I have, my bag that I brought. I have 2 bags that I brought from home. And they're not that heavy, but it's not like they're easy to carry at the same time. So we're all just following him, no particular order. We're just all walking to him. And we're walking towards the dorm area. And you can just see all of the all of the dorms at basic training, and you see just everything, but you don't see people. Okay, it looks like it's just us because everybody was probably inside at this point that actually were in basic training, and we're walking, and the guy that's up front is definitely an MTI, and I'm thinking, oh, he's just taking us to our dorms. Little did I know that guy would actually be my MTI. And we're walking behind him. He hasn't turned around once to say anything to us. We're just walking behind him. And I dropped my bag. And it was loud enough for anyone to hear. And also all the girls that were walking with me saw that happen, obviously. But let me tell you, I picked that up so quickly because I was scared he was going to turn around or something and yell at me for that. But he didn't. So we were all good. I picked it up and kept it moving. And yeah, so we get up to our dorms, and I think we literally just chose whatever bed we wanted at the time. I think that's how it went. So I chose the bed closest to the bathroom. While that may sound like, I don't know, while that may be why would you want that one? Because if people, do the do or whatever, you'll smell it. The bathrooms had doors to them, so the door would be closed. And also, I'm thinking long term, depending on how long we may have to get ready, I don't want to have to be far away from the bathroom and then have to try to book it to my area and it's just all this stuff. So I was thinking logistic wise, what would be the best to do? So that's why I chose that. And honestly, it kind of worked out for me personally as time went on. So he told us, get ready for bed essentially, and we did. And that was the end of the time from when I went from the reserve base to my first night in San Antonio. So now we're going to get into the next day and then weeks after, what happened in the weeks to come. Okay, so the first night is over with, and we're waking up into the first real day of basic training. So this week that I'm in currently is 0 week, in which you're just getting used to just everything, and you're also getting all your immunization shots, just more paperwork, just getting into the flow of how things will go in the next weeks to come. And it was I couldn't even tell you. I don't remember the time, but it was early enough that we all wake up to this banging noise and then screaming, and then this female MTI coming in our dorm area and just telling us to wake up, wake up, wake up. Just banging. I don't know what she's banging, a trash can together? Most likely. And we live in bays, so I think it was 25 beds to each bay, but we're in the same dorm. So I can go over to the other bay. So she's going up and down our bays, telling us to wake up, get ready, let's go. And she comes around to my bay, and I'm on the edge because I'm right by the bathroom. So it's the first bed on one of the bays. And she's let's go. And I'm looking at her okay, cool. And so I'm trying to get ready as fast as I can. And then she just the way I looked at her and the way it was just funny to me because she was doing the most in my opinion, but I don't know. I got ready to go for the day. So yeah, 0 week was just getting used to everything. And then we head into the next few weeks. So the next few weeks kind of are a blur because obviously it's now been almost 3 years since I've been there. And essentially, kind of the familiar thing that we would do every day for each of those weeks is PT in the morning. So we would actually wake up at 5:45, and I think it's called Reveille. I might be wrong about that. But a specific tune would play in the morning, and that's how we knew to wake up. So I believe we woke up at 5:45. We had to be downstairs by 6 a.m. And we would, I believe, go do PT first. I think some flights did PT in the afternoon, but we did PT in the morning from, I think, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then after that, we would go back upstairs, and we would get ready for the day, but we wouldn't have a lot of time to get ready. Like, it's not like you have 30 minutes to get ready, go get showered, and come back down. Like, no, I think we had like 10 or like 15 minutes. And we only had a little bit more time because we're females. So the guys had less time than us. So we would do that, and then we would go to breakfast, and I'm going to get into what that was like in a second. So we would eat our breakfast, then we go to classes, and depending on what they had planned, we may go do something else, like an activity of some sort, and then go back into classes again, and then lunch, classes, maybe an activity, dinner, classes, and then we would kind of wind down for the day, and I believe that was like the daily life at basic training. So I'm going to talk about every time we went to go get food. So breakfast, lunch, dinner, it's the same thing. I believe in our flight, I think in the beginning, unless she volunteered, but we had someone in our flight who was the chow runner. And what that means is she would go inside before we did. So we all are lined up outside of the chow hall, like where we eat. And she would go in there. I think she had to take a wingman because you're never really supposed to go anywhere on the base by yourself. You're always supposed to have someone with you. I think, unless she's by herself. Like I said, it's been 3 years, so I don't remember. All I know is someone from our flight would go into the chow hall, go to the snake pit, which is where all the MTIs sat. And she would have to report a certain way, but she would have to pretty much, like, in order, like, every single time we ate, she had to say, like, the same thing, into which, just letting the MTIs know that her flight's here and we're ready to eat. And then, depending on how she would do, essentially, is if they would let us come inside. And that's a job. We all had jobs in basic training. That's a job that, like, no one, not that I know of, actually wants, because it's scary. Especially when you're first in basic training. You don't know what you're supposed to say. You're in a new environment. Everything's just so new to you that going in there facing, I think it was like 5 of them maybe, I'm not sure, and saying that is terrifying. Because, yes, they scream at these people. Like, they will scream at you. There's a bunch of other people eating in the chow hall, so everyone can see, maybe, you're not really supposed to look, but everyone can hear, okay, you getting, like, screamed at. So as time went on, she got better at it. Do you know what I'm saying? She was going in there. We ate our food, and that was a wrap. But that's the one job I did not want to do at all. So the job that I actually had in basic training real quick was the hall monitor, I think it's called. I don't remember. All I know is that I had to kind of be in charge, as well as 2 other girls. We had to be in charge of, like, the hallway in which you walk through. So we had to clean that. I think we had to clean it every morning or twice a day, something like that. And while that may seem rather simple, it is, but it's not when that's such a heavily frequented area, meaning it's the hallway. It's what connects the outside of the dorm to our bays. So that area always got dirty quickly, and our MTIs would come and check our work. So it felt like the work I would do wasn't, like, the work I did, I just felt like it seemed like I didn't even do any work. So it was just frustrating. And also sometimes girls would, after they get in the shower, come out and their hair is wet, they would stand in front of one of the mirrors in the hallway, and, like, some of the water that they're rushing from their hair would, like, flick on the mirror. And it's like, I just cleaned that, but it is what it is. So where was I? Talking about chow hall. So that was typically how chow hall worked. I will say, when you got into the chow hall, everybody, this is not just the chow runner, everybody is expected to do facing movements. And what facing movements are, it's a certain way you move your feet to get to one place to another. So just walking normally is not correct. Like, you will get screamed at for that. That's not how it works. You have to do a specific facing pattern to get to the area you're trying to get in. And the whole time that we're waiting to get our food, you're standing at attention. And what that means is you're like, your hands are down to your side, you're looking straight ahead, and you're not looking left or right, okay? You're not doing that. I think we're supposed to be looking at the person's head in front of us. That's the way you're supposed to do it. So it's kind of a long it kind of is a long process because you're waiting for all these people to get their food and they have to make sure they're doing their facing movements the right way. And if they don't, like, you got to wait for them to get screamed at real quick until they can adjust that. So it kind of took some time. So after you finally get up to where we're going to eat at, you know, you have to, you know, you get your food, you get whatever you want. Then I believe you have to do facing movements. You have to do facing movements outside of, like, when you got out of the chow hall line, like the food line, and then you go find a place to sit. Now, you also don't get to just sit wherever you want to sit. You have to, I believe you had to look at where girls, in my case, were sitting at in your flight, and you had to determine which seat you had to sit in. It was a whole, everything in basic training had a purpose, and had a specific way to do things. But it makes sense. It's the military structure, stuff like that. Another thing is that, like, when you're sitting and you're eating your food, we had, I believe it was 10 minutes to eat maximum, and you had to have 2 drinks with you. So in the beginning, everyone was required, this is not just one meal off the day. You were expected to do this, your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. You had to have 2 glasses of liquids. In the beginning, I believe we only were allowed to have water, and as time went on, you were able to get, I think, orange juice and maybe water, or milk and water, but you had to have 2, and you had to drink all of them before you got up to leave. So yeah, I was worried about that before I went, just because I don't drink that many fluids when I'm eating, so, like, I'm thinking I won't be able to do this. I'm like, oh god. So like I said, you had to get your 2 liquids and you had to have your food. So you sit down with your liquids. The way I would do it every single time, and this is the only way I think honestly the way I got through this, is I would take one of my waters, drink all of it at once, and that leaves me with another water and my food. So then what I would do is I would eat my food, drink maybe like half of the water at some point, the last water that I have, and keep eating my food. I could have, I guess, just drank, like, both waters at the same time, but I'm thinking, what if I choke on my food? Like, is someone gonna save me? Like, so I always kept that last water at least halfway filled, just in case. Because remember, you have 10 minutes to eat. So I'm trying to eat and get as much food I can down, because that's it for that time. And then I gotta wait till, like, I think it's 3 or 4 hours later to eat again. So that's what I do. Drink 1 full water, drink maybe the half of the other one, or eat a little bit first, then drink the other half, and then finish it out with the last half of the water. And then I was good to go, and I was out of there. So yeah, and doing that like 3 times for breakfast, lunch, and dinner may seem daunting, but let me tell you how quickly I adapted to that lifestyle. And also, by drinking that many fluids for each meal of the day, do you know how hydrated I was that entire time? I was very hydrated. So honestly, there's a method to the madness, and it was chill. So yeah, so another areas of basic training. So we had Beast Week. Don't remember what week that was. I think it was like week 6, and then I think the gas chamber was week 4. I'm gonna do a separate video on my gas chamber experience, just because it's not, I guess, the typical experience I'd say most people would have, and I think that's something unique I could add. So yeah, that'll be another video. Beast Week I can talk about here. Essentially, that's the week in which you are living 1 week in a deployed environment, and we were in these. So this is not living in the dorms anymore. This is literally living, I don't even know how to describe them. They look like tents is the best way I can describe them. And I'm going to see if I can insert pics in here. So what we were sleeping on looked like a cot. So I'll put it like here. And it had a mosquito netting on top of it, I guess, to keep the mosquitoes out. The craziest thing that happened in Beast Week, besides us finding a snake outside, I'll get into that, was seeing a scorpion, like, in our tent. And while that may seem scary, it actually wasn't. It was actually a baby, and he or she was, like, super cute to see. Now, if that was, like, a adult, I probably wouldn't be saying this right now. But it was not that bad experience. So Beast Week is also when we ate MREs. I believe they're called meal ready to eat meals. Very popular food thing that military members eat. And yeah, we had that for breakfast, lunch, but not dinner. We actually got a warm meal for dinner. And my favorite MREs to eat, I think it's called something with beans in it. I know that. And that meal specifically always had either cornbread or brownie. And I was obsessed. I was obsessed with the cornbread that came in the meal ready to eat meals. Like, oh my god, it was so good. I don't know how they make that. And also, it always tasted so fresh to me. So, I don't know how they did that, but it was like super good. Now, the only time in Beast Week that I was like, what? Was when I had MRE that was like fish. So I do eat fish now currently, like in 2021, but in 2018, I did not eat fish like at all. I didn't really like it. So I just stayed away from it. And so in my meal ready to eat that day, that was the main meal. So every MRE has a meal theme. Like I told you, my favorite one was beans, whatever else came in that one, but this one literally was just fish. And it was, I don't know the brand, but it's like the one you just like open and it's like a fish. It's just fish. I don't explain that. And I'm thinking, oh my god, like I gotta just eat this and I gotta survive off this for the next like 4 hours. Like, I ate it obviously because if I didn't eat it, I was gonna be starving. And I think I tried asking people to trade with me and no one wanted it. Obviously, who would want that? Not me. And that was just crazy times, but got through it and I was good to go. So, the tents. So when I told you a little bit earlier that we saw a snake because something that we have to do in basic training, even at the dorms, is we rotate shifts being on guard. And what that means is we had a weapon. It wasn't real. It's like a fake weapon that we had to always have with us. And it was essentially, we were pretty much security, I guess you could say. So I'll give you an example. So sometimes I would have to be outside of the tent for, I think, 2 hours to just guard it at night or whenever I was on duty. Because, in the military, you always have to have stuff guarded. It's not just like a free-for-all. Like, no. So I remember a couple instances. So when it was not raining, one of the days we were there, me and another girl, because there's always two people for a wingman concept, we're sitting outside of the tent. And I think... my phone just dropped. It was like, I think 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. So obviously when we're sleeping, there's going to be someone on guard. So I think my shift was like 12 a.m. to 2 a.m. And me and actually my friend were outside of the tent. And, we're just sitting there and we could talk because nothing else to do at 12 o'clock in the morning. So we're just sitting there and all of a sudden we see like all this commotion over here at another tent because there's other people out here. It's not just my flight. We have a brother flight and we have I think another couple flights out here as well. We're all out here in Beast Week this week. And all this commotion's happening over here in another tent, and then I see like this golf cart, which are I think MTIs that have to monitor us at all times, come out, and there was like some snake, and they took the snake and then got rid of the snake. I don't know what they did with the snake, but it wasn't there anymore. But that's just an example of stuff that happened at Beast Week. And then another time Beast Week when I was on duty, we were inside of the tent because it was raining, and we were sitting in chairs, yes, but everyone's sleeping, so we're just sitting in the pitch black in this tent on duty with a fake weapon like behind me. So yeah, I could have probably slept, but I didn't want to do that because I'm supposed to be on guard. And if I was one of the girls in my flight sleeping, I'd hope they wouldn't take that for granted and just sleep on the job, quote unquote. So yeah, I was just sitting there in the dark, staring into the darkness pretty much for like my 2-hour shift that time. And yeah, so another thing that happened when I was in basic training is that sometimes you could be on, I think it was called chow duty, I might be butchering that, but it's pretty much where for the whole day, you are able to work in the chow hall instead of, I think, be with your flight doing classes. I don't know if you still had to do classes or not. I don't remember. But that's when you had to wake up at 3 a.m. or 3:30 a.m. to get ready. And then you had to be at the chow hall, I forgot what time, to help pretty much. So your duty at chow hall was essentially, I think, to clean the tables off after people get up and to help out with any other thing they needed. While that may sound not that exciting, when you're in basic training and you have to follow all these rules all the time, you gotta like stand at attention most of the time or stand straight ahead. That actually is amazing to break it up. And did I mention that you got to eat as much food as you wanted when you were working for the chow hall? Yeah, so when I did chow hall duty, we could eat whenever we wanted to eat for the most part. We could eat as much as we wanted to eat. There was really no restrictions. The only thing you had to do was just make sure you're cleaning and making sure you're doing your job. And that was amazing. I'm sure whoever else in the military watching this could attest to that. Like, it was the best thing ever. Also, we have on our military blouses. You were able to take those off and just work with your sand T-top a lot of the time. It's a good time. It's a good time. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit to this after Beast Week, and we're like about to graduate. You feel me? I don't know why I said that. That was weird. So it's just so incredible seeing the progression from when you first went into basic training to how you are when you leave. So something I forgot to add, or something I forgot to mention in the beginning of when I'm talking about this, is our reporting statement. So everybody had to say this whenever you had to ask anyone a question that is like, of authority, like MTI, just anybody. So if I was talking to one of my MTIs, and I'll talk about those two as well in a second, I had to say, what was it? So at the time, throughout basic training, I'm a trainee because I'm not an airman yet. I'm a trainee. So I had to say, sir, trainee, reports as ordered. So, sir, trainee blank, it's my last name. For this purpose, I'm not going to say my last name, but it's not that hard to figure out. But you would say, sir, trainee as ordered, and then you would be like, whatever you need to ask them. So that's something everyone had to say, like, every single time. And if you forgot that reporting statement, let me tell you, you would hear about it because they would scream at you for, like, not saying your reporting statement. As as time goes on, you don't forget to say your reporting statement because it's something that everyone says. You hear it all the time. So it got a lot easier. Now, when you got to, I don't remember, week 7? Week 8? Pretty much when you're about to leave, you change that reporting statement from Sir Trainee Blank reports as ordered to Sir Airman Blank reports as ordered, because you are pretty much an airman now. Like, you are no longer a trainee. Like, you passed that, you surpassed that, previous title. And I don't know, it was just like crazy to think, but a lot of us would forget to say that because you're saying trainee for like 7 weeks. So when you finally have the opportunity to say airman, it's just like, it's amazing. It's just it's a great time. So my MTIs, I didn't really go into them. So we would see a different one every other day. So I think that's like the way it worked. Their day off is whenever our other MTI was there. I had 2. Both of them were male, and let me tell you, it was amazing having them. They're great MTIs, but it's also amazing because one of their personalities was very intense, very strict, while the other one was super quiet. I'm not going to say their names, but like, if you're saying this, like, you guys rocked, like, thanks for the good times, but oh my god. The one's personality was just like a dad, and if you like did something like bad or wrong, he would not yell at you. He would just look at you in disappointment, and it was just so funny. And then the other one, like I said, he's super intense. Still nice though, but he's just definitely the stricter version of the other one. And I think that helped balance it out because every day I know what I would be getting. I know if I'm gonna get the more serious one, or I know if I'm gonna get the one that's chill but serious. I'll say that though. And I don't know. It was just good having that balance. Something else I also forgot to mention, I actually lived in the Disneyland dorms. So if you don't know, they're not technically called Disneyland. We all just live in dorms, but there's Alcatraz dorms and there's Disneyland. The reason why they call them Alcatraz and Disneyland is because the Alcatraz are usually the older dorms and the Disneyland are the newer dorms. So I lived in the newer dorms. And then, yeah, so now we're at the point of graduating, and it's just crazy how, like, time flies. So something that changed actually right after me. So as I'm pretty much about to graduate, like out of basic training, there's something called Airman's Week. So Airman's Week is essentially the week in which, I don't even know what they're called, but just when like you're kind of transitioning from being in basic training, a strict environment, to tech school, where tech school is still strict, but it's not as strict as basic training, and just kind of just making that transition. So flights that came in after me at this time, I believe they ended Airman's Week. So what that means is I did basic training. Then I go to Airman's Week. Then I go to tech school. Now I think it's basic training, tech school. So I don't think there's that like 1 week thing in between. So I knew that like once I hit like the time when I graduated. But yeah, Airman's Week was cool. I met different people than my flight, which was great. And then we ultimately all went our separate ways, some of us. And some of the girls that I met, we went to the same tech school. So briefly, I could do another video about my tech school if I want to. I don't know if I will or not. It was a good time for me, except for a little drama that ensued. But maybe I should do a video on that. I don't really. I probably won't, but I may. So I went to Keesler Air Force Base in Biloxi, Mississippi for my tech school, and it was a good time, and I enjoyed my time. And let me tell you, that beach was really nice. It's definitely something worth remembering. So I probably left out a lot of information, and when I look back at this video and editing in the editing booth, I'll probably be like, you forgot to mention that. But I think I said a lot of good information for now. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I'll see you guys in my next video.